Right, so in this video, this is the layout we are going to be working on. Here you can see it a little bit more clear with some instructions about the font sizes and stuff. So the first thing that I will do normally do is basically draw a basic simple wireframe to serve as a guide. Right here we already have a wireframe, or kind of a wireframe, where we can see some of the sizes of the elements, meaning this box here should have around 80 pixels height and 1120 pixels width, and with some stuff there. And yeah, you get the idea. So this will be a wrapper, the blue one, and inside that I'm going to insert a header, and then I will have two divs here, one floating to the left, the other one also floating to the left but smaller, this one will have just an image inside it. And for the content, I will make this an H1, so this will be an H1. This will be a paragraph with class title. This will be another paragraph with class subtitle or description or something like that. And here I will have three boxes. This will be one box, one second box, and a third one here with text align center, and inside them I will just insert some, this could be an H2, and this one is the same as the first one, so this one and this one too, and also this one are gonna be all H1s. So that's more or less my wireframe, okay? I will just make a new file here. It will be called first partial, this is c.html. Okay, and I have to write lots of stuff. So I will do that. Of course, you could copy this from somewhere else if you want to. Layout Z, and that's it. So here I will have a div with ID wrapper, and inside it I'm gonna have a header, and inside the header I need the image and an order list or an unordered list, some kind of list. So the image, it's in letter C and it's called logo, alt logo, and then some UL with some lie elements, 4 of them. It says home, products, services. Well, I will fix that later on with CSS, change everything to capitals, to uppercase. Company, it doesn't really matter, okay. And then below that I'm going to have two divs that will act as a column. Each of one will be one column. The left column will be this one here, and the right column will be just the one with the giraffe. So div class call for column, let's make 2 of them. In the first one we said we needed an H1, that's this one that says careers, then some paragraph with class title, right? And there I will just copy that page. Let's build great things together. Okay, and then I have another paragraph. I won't copy that because it's just gibberish. Subtitle, I will call it des for description. There's a nice service called lorem ipsum, which is just an ancient Latin text we use to fill space. You can go there, generate a little bit, and just copy something. I don't know how much of text. I just need just a small text, really not much. And then you also have these columns. So this will be div class 1/3, I will call it, because I need 3 of these. Let me just finish the first one and then I copy it. Inside here we also have an H1, but also an let's call it an H3 or H2 if you want to. This is like the price, right? Or some number, employees. Again, I'm going to fix this later on using CSS. So something like that, and then 28 millions of invested, and then The last one is 82% of success rate. So that's my old HTML, I think so. I don't need anything else. I will make my styles external. So I already have a folder there called CSS. I'm going to create a new file called stylesz.css.
You're missing the giraffe.
I'm missing the giraffe, exactly, thank you. And that should go here in this other column, right? So image source, image C, where are you? Phone? No, so it's D, okay, yeah, sorry. So D, and in this one I'm also going to bring the D for the other folder, okay? So I can ship everything together, and then just an alt and giraffe. And that's pretty much it. If you open it, of course it will look quite ugly because I don't have any styles on it, but the HTML is complete, so we can move forward to the CSS. I already created the style C CSS. It's empty, as you can see here. Let's link those two together inside the head. You just need a link, href, CSS style C, rel, style, and it should be actually D, right? So this should be D, and I'm going to rename this, rename to D. Okay, and this should also be D. Well, doesn't really matter. I will just leave it as D. Now, let's start with the styles. First, I will grab my CSS resetter. That's always a good practice to do. And I will use the one from Eric Meyer, the one we have been using. So this one. I'm just going to copy this, paste it there, and then wrap everything here. That's it. So just with the resetter, my design changes from this to this. So basically we lost the vignettes and any special decoration the browser was trying to impose to us, and we got rid of it, basically all the margins, padding, and everything, so we can start from scratch. So let's start with this small box here. Well, let's start with the wrapper, right? Because we have this wrapper, this big wrapper, and the wrapper should be just assign it a width of 1120 pixels and center just the easy way. If you want to see it for a second, let's give it an awful background color so you can see that now my wrapper is there and it's center and it's working there. So I will just remove the background. Then let's move to the header. The header, as you can see here on the wireframe, has a height of 80 pixels. So 80 pixels. You can assign it a temporary background color so you are able to see it. There it is. Now you do need a box shadow, and I know the box shadow is a little bit difficult to understand, or it has many attributes. So I just typed everything here. This is the X offset, so how much the shadow will be displayed in the X-axis. This is the Y offset, the blurriness of the shadow, and the color, which is a black one, almost transparent, 7% of opacity. Okay, so you just have to copy that box shadow, and it was a 0312 RGBA black color at 07. So super light color. Let me remove that so you can see it more easily. I don't know if you're able to see it, but there you have that small shadow there. Okay. Now let's move the logo and the UL, the list. So with the logo you could play. It's the only image inside there, so you could select it that way without adding any special class or IDs to it. You could, of course, place with the margins, I don't know, 40 magnitude to the top, 0, 0, 20 to the left, or something like that. And that will actually start moving the logo as you wish to. Maybe it's better just to position it in an absolute way, as we were doing during the last sessions. So I will go position absolute and then center it vertically, as we did with the top 50%, transform, translate y minus 50%. And the problem here is that it will be centered with the relatively to the body, as you can see, okay? So why it's been centered with the body and not with the wrapper? Because I was hoping it for be centered inside the head, because it is inside the header. But what's the problem here?
Because the body doesn't have any.
The header doesn't have any position declared, so it will ignore it and look for some body with a position declared different than static, okay? And it will it won't find anybody, so it will align with the body at the end, right? So what we need to do is just assign some position relative, won't harm it, won't do any harm to it. And if we refresh it, now we have it perfectly centered there, okay? And then we'll also leave some space to the left, maybe some 40 pixels, just to move it a little bit out from them. Now let's move the UL, header UL, and we will probably need to also deal with the li elements inside it. So I will just make these two links, because these ones we want them to not to be stacked, but to be horizontally aligned. I can change the display to inline block, for example. That will put them there. If you want to see the UL, let's give it a temporary background color of red so you can see where it is. There you have it, okay? Now let's move it also with a position absolute. If you just change the position, the size is no longer fitting the wrapper, as you can see. It's just growing the necessary space to wrap all the elements inside it. That's perfect. Then let's move it to the right 0. Then let's move it, let's center it the right way. So top 50%, transform, translate y minus 50. That will help us to, if this changes size anyway, it will always be aligned, vertically aligned. Okay, so that's perfect. I can lose the red background now. Well, I will leave it for a second. I will make it maybe some other color, not as horrible as that one, but you can, so you can see the UL a little bit. Okay. Let's start with the finishing this up. Okay, so first, everything should be uppercase. I can change that in CSS. So text transform uppercase. That will change everything to uppercase. So as you can see here, if I refresh it now, even I had it on lowercase, I can change that in CSS. And then let's go to the fonts. So we need basically two font types. We need the Roboto font, and we also need the Work Sans font. So let me just grab those from fonts.google.com, Roboto, and then I just click the plus sign, and also Work Sans, and I click the plus sign. And then here I will customize them to bring the right weights, okay? So I just need the 300 for the Roboto and the 500 for the Work Sans. So this is the Work Sans, should be the 500, and the Roboto the 300, right? Yeah. Then I will just go to embed. I have the link already here. As you can see, it's bringing the Roboto 300 and the Work Sans all in one call to the server, so that's perfect. We'll just close this and bring those fonts before my style. This is important because I want to have the fonts available, and then when I already have those available, I am going to assign them to certain elements using my own styles, okay? So it's important that this style sheet comes after this one. Now in the li elements, I will assign the Work Sans. I think it was Work Sans there, yeah. And I have to write it exactly as I imported them, okay? So this is a white space, but this capital S should be written with capitals here, okay? And then just a fallback if I cannot download that. And I gave you the color, so the for list should have this A0 color, and then we are just going to override the first one. And also put a little border into the top of it, so it gets the impression that this is the current item or the selected item from this menu, okay? So the color for all of them will be an A0. The font size, it's at 12 pixels. And that's pretty much it, okay? This will change this. I can get rid of this horrible beige background. And I also want to space this a little bit. And I will do this in two ways. First, I will assign some widths to the li elements. Let me show them to you with a background color of red. So they are. Maybe that's too much. Maybe 120. And I will also, let me just change this a little bit so you can see the text there. I will change the text to center, text align center to center them. And I want to grow those to fit the whole height. And the height of the container was 80%. I can change the height to 100%. Doesn't make any changes because of the display inline block, so I have to change it manually to 80 pixels. And if I want to center that line, yeah, I could play with the padding to the top, but a good trick is to make the height of the line of the text line as high as the container. So if the container is 80 pixels high and you make each line be 80 pixels high, then it will center vertically inside that line. Okay. The next line of text will be more or less here. So this only works with one line of text. Okay. If you will have two lines of text, so for example, home and then some other text here, it won't work anymore because that text will make that lead to not be aligned there, right? There is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's the other text there, okay? So it just works with one line in this case, but it works fine, okay? Now we can just remove the background for that Lee element, that red background, also the white color, and that's it. And now we have to tell apart the first one from the rest, okay? And for that we can just assign something different to it. So maybe a class selected, okay? Yep.
It wouldn't have worked if you did height.
So the thing is that depending on the section you are, you will want to have this class selected on each of these or on the correct one, okay? And the way I'm going to tell them apart is I'm going to tell it, yeah, inside the header there's also some Lee with the class selected. And for that one, I'm just going to change the color to this 29 color here. And also I'm going to assign, bless you, a border top of 5 pixels, solid red. So it's a red color, it's an F91B24, which is kind of a red color, right? Okay. And that's it. So now we have that one with the line there. And it's starting to look okay. Let's move to the columns right here. So what I'm gonna do, I want to have two columns, and maybe the left one should be bigger than the right one, right? Because this one will be around maybe 60 or 65% or something around that, and the other one will be the rest of the container, right? But both of them will be floating, so both of the calls will float, sorry, to the left. And then I have to tell them apart because I don't want them to be of the same size. So this will be call 1, and this will be call 2. So I am adding an extra class to each of them to tell them apart somehow, okay? And here I'm just saying, yeah, the call 1 should have a width of, let's say, 66%, and then the call 2 should have a width of, we can even, if I am lazy and I don't want to do the math, we can let CSS do some calcs for us. So I don't know, maybe 100% minus 66%, and you can make any operation you want here as long as you leave the correct spaces between the operands, so the browser can do the math here. Okay, and as you can see, we already have that one. The problem is that in this call 2, the column size is okay, but the giraffe is too big, okay? So it overlaps the content, okay? It overflows the content. If I will change the overflow, by default the overflow is visible, as you can see here, but if you change that to hidden, you won't be able to see what is overflowing that div, okay? You could even scroll it. That's not a good practice anymore, but you could scroll the content of that container, as you can see there. That's a weird practice, but you could do that, okay? But what we want is just, we want to fit the giraffe inside that container, right? So what we could do is just tell, yeah, in call 2 there's an image, and the width of that image should be 100% of the container. And that will make the giraffe just to wrap inside there in the correct way. Maybe we want to make this a little bit bigger, so this will be 60, and this, oh, this could be 40 already. I'm super lazy. But as you can see now, this is a little bit bigger. In fact, as the top part of the giraffe is a little bit separated from the rest, we could assign a margin button to the header maybe. Yeah, so we have the header and push everything down. I don't know, maybe 80 pixels or something like that. Okay, this is, no, not the Lee elements. Why the Lee? Just the header. Just you, my friend. Yeah. So this will push everything a little bit further away, okay? Now I can get rid of that horrible background for the giraffe, which was this one. It's starting to look okay. Let's go to the last part, which is this one. And for that, I'm going to make that column to be more or less here. So that will be my column, okay? So first of all, let me give it some color so you can see it. Background color, some aqua color, so you are able to see it. Let's give it a little bit of space, margin top, maybe 300 pixels. If that's too much, you can play a little bit with the values there, here. So you could say something like, yeah, maybe just 160 or around that, okay? Now inside there, we said this was going to be an H1 because we have H1s also here. So let's start with that, okay? So maybe just the H1. I have to change the color and the font size. The font family should be the work sans. So work sans with a sans serif otherwise. And this should have a color of F91 B24. So as you can see, all my H are already changing. I'm going to make them text transform, uppercase, to make them be capitalized, all of them. And this should be centered, so all the content of that column 2 will be centered, and I can center all the content just with a text align center. And this should center this. Why not? Because this H1, okay, it's using the, yeah, no, it's using the 100% of the container, so really it's not doing it. Exactly, yeah, but it's not. I'm centering that thing. Yeah. But even if I do it with that, yeah, that was the result I was expecting to see. So now I'm centering everything together. Maybe let's change that paragraph 1, which is this one, and I gave it a class of title, I think, right? So it's this one, yeah, title, and then the description. So the paragraph with class title should have a font size of 36 pixels. Use the Roboto font size, otherwise any sans serif. Width of weight of 300. I don't have to specify that because that's the only weight I was grabbing from Google Fonts. That's going to be the only weight available. So even if I set this to 500 or 100, it won't change anything because it only has one weight available. So that's the one it's going to be using. Okay, and then the other one, which was desk, I also need something like this, but the font size changes to 15 and the color is 69, and the color here for the title was 29, something like that. Okay, so it's started to come along quite well. Let me lose the aqua color so you can see it more clear. And we definitely need some space, so maybe in the title, in the top we leave, I don't know, maybe 80 pixels to the top, 0, 100 to the bottom, and 0 to the left to push things a little bit farther away. That was too much. So maybe 40 and 50, something like that could work. Maybe a little bit less, so 30 and 40. And this is what I was telling you, that it doesn't have to really be pixel perfect for this test, okay? Now in this one we can add more line height, so this is 100% of line height. If you give it a 2, that will be double space and stuff like that. So this will double space the lines here. The text should be a little bit bigger, so I will just go here and grab another piece of text so it looks more realistic. Okay, so here you could add a little bit more text, and that's starting to look more like it. I think I could just use just one more line of text. I will copy it from here, and I will just erase part of it. Yeah, it's starting to look quite okay. I'm thinking that this is not a 69. 69, yeah. I think it looks darker here, but okay. And now for the last part, let's play with these three boxes, which was the last part. So they are all inside these columns called 1/3, okay? So I can play with that and say, yeah, there's 1/3. You should be floating to the left and with 33 dot, because I want the three of them to be of one column, right? So if you do that, let me just give them some background color red, so you can tell them, let me add a border, 4 pixels, solid black, and of course they won't fit anymore, so I will just make this a little bit smaller just for a second, okay? So you can see them, there they are. What else? Inside them, we have to style this, which was called H2, okay? So the H2 should be, we can center all the content inside and that will be better. Text align center, that will center the content. It was already centered. And for this one, yeah, I have to change all this, right? So it's a 22, 29. So something like the title. I will just copy this to make it faster. The size is 22. The rest is the same, maybe without any margin. Okay, yeah, I could add some margin to the top, maybe some 30 pixels, and maybe some 10 pixels to the bottom. Okay, and I also, yeah, I can just lose this border and background and then assign again the 33.3333. And yeah, it's starting to look quite well, I think. There are some borders there. So what you could do is, and I will finish with this idea. As soon as you add a border, they will no longer fit, right? Because this adds to almost 100%. So there's no space for anything else. If I add a border to the right, 1 pixel solid, let's make it a light gray, CCC, they won't fit anymore, okay? And that is moving to the background. If I decrease this, then they will fit, but I can also change the box sizing to border box. And what that means is that the border and the padding and the margin should fit inside this 33%. And this won't make this box to grow further away from 33.333% if you change the box sizings to border box. So even if I had that, if I don't have this, as you can see, the size of each of these boxes should be the size of the container divided by 3. This container is 672 divided by 3. So each of those lines should be around or almost, because of the decimals, 222. And as you can see, they are 225, each of them, with the border. Now, if you change that box sizings to border box, they will fit, they will fit inside there, as you can see, and now the size is 224, so it's decreasing the size because it's counting the border as part of the size with this change, okay? And that looks okay. Maybe want some height to them because we want them to be taller. Maybe not that much, but maybe 130. Yeah, something like that is starting to look okay. And also some margin top of, let's say, 30 pixels to drop them a little bit there. And then we have to get rid of the last border, right? This one. So we don't want that border. We could do that by telling, yeah, you are also 1/3, but you are the last one. So we are creating the class last. And that class last, just don't add any border to the right. That's it. So we now got rid of that horrible border there, and I think we are done. I will pause the video here.